Alright guys, Scrappy again. I hope you're doing good and enjoying your day so far. With the FaZe team set to be announced in the coming days, Shotzzy's given his response to no longer having to play those guys in the upcoming season, but FormaL, having played against the trio as well back in the Cold War season where they were rather good, reveals exactly what it might have taken for this to come to an end in the way that it did. FormaL reckons there would have been some sort of internal rifts at the very least that are leading us to what could well be some pretty spicy rivalries in the upcoming season. For a month and to your thoughts on the comments, hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. Plenty to get into. Wanted to start with the Zuma World Cup. So the Esports Nations Cup was confirmed a little while ago. We don't know if COD's going to be there yet, and if it even is happening for COD, it's not happening until 2026 anyway. But Zuma was like, okay, you know what, let's run a World Cup, but a more traditional World Cup, not a club World Cup, where you've got OpTic, FaZe, Thieves, whatever. But the US, Canada, the UK, Japan, right? Oman, for example. So it's been pretty cool the last couple of days to see this all get underway, really, and I think Zuma did say that he's probably looking to do more of these in the near future because it's been a pretty fun tournament so far. Attach, of course, helping out some of the guys from Team Japan for the Zuma World Cup, and we did see some results start to come through last night. So this is the set of teams for the Zuma World Cup, as you guys can see, and this is a few days ago, so things have taken a little bit further moving on from here, let's say. But yeah, 16 teams were put together. Yesterday, there were some big first round games. We had Team Jamaica play Team Oman, and we had Team Italy play against Team Mexico. We'll see in a second. Now, I don't think Snoopy could make it, unfortunately, so he wasn't on the Mexican team, and Shotzzy wasn't playing for the team either. So, but anyway, the first couple of rounds of last night got underway, and this was Team Oman versus Team Jamaica. Team Oman got the victory here. Actually, FormaL on the podcast that we'll show a couple of clips of in a second was looking at Team Jamaica and saying, damn, these guys' names are going crazy, right? They've got Slay, they've got Skill, those guys on there. Didn't work out for them. Team Oman gets the dub. And the other game was Team Mexico versus Team Italy, and the Mexican team comes out on top in the end in 4, taking down a interesting red card hardpoint, let's just say that. So, look, it's still being played on Black Ops 6, which is still fine. Look, Black Ops 6 isn't terrible. It's just, you know, watching more Protocol is, like, not exactly so particularly compelling, but BO7's coming out relatively soon, and we've had plenty of Black Ops 3 and other stuff this off-season as well. So that's cool, the way that that's trending. I'll share this clip as well where JP got involved with Team Japan, right, Team JP, and I thought that was pretty nice to see, and, well, there were some interesting comments in the chat, let's just put it that way as well. So I'll share this clip in a second, in addition to what was a very interesting clip from the OpTic podcast that they dropped. So the Game Chat episode comes out, typically that's with the whole OpTic team, but of course it's the off-season, so Dashy's not there right now, neither's Kyler, Huke, so they've got Shotzzy, they've got Mercules, they brought in Bound and FormaL from the Halo roster that of course are preparing hard for the Halo World Championship in the near future. The big conversation has been, because in Rostermania so far, we know that things are coming soon, but FaZe have actually confirmed some things. They've confirmed aBeZy's gone, they've confirmed Cellium's gone, and the timing of this is pretty remarkable for COD. Look, it was inevitable at some point that the FaZe trio and the FaZe team would come to an end. As FormaL says here, like, he wasn't really expecting the duo Simp and aBeZy to really ever break up, but it did eventually happen, as we know now, and it happens in an unexpected way, just because at the start of this season, everyone was talking about the FaZe three-peat, right? They'd won the World Cup. Yeah, they'd lost, like, the K-Sun Invitational, right? But, you know, if you don't count that one, they then won Major 1, they won Major 2. You know, they won the minor as well in between, right? So to go from that to where we are today, where, you know, FaZe are totally blowing it up, we think that Simp and Drazah staying together on the team with 04 and Abuzah, but Cellium going his own way to Falcons, we think, for a decent paycheck, and then aBeZy, we think, possibly over to the LA Thieves. So some discussion by the OpTic guys as to kind of what this means, how it transpired in this way. Shotzzy gave his thoughts on no longer needing to play against these guys going forwards, but also the strange season they had, because as you guys remember, they didn't start the season especially well. I mean, I was just looking here at their results. They started out the year, so this is the World Cup last season. They won the World Cup, beating that Thieves team in the finals 4-2. They then started off this season by losing to Toronto, losing to Thieves, and then notably, really, was this loss to the Ravens, right? When they got 3-0'd by the Ravens and people thought, damn, this team actually might be cooked this season, what's going on with FaZe? We talked a lot about it, right? At the start of the year that FaZe was struggling, their scrims weren't looking so good. But to their credit, in early January, they put in a lot of time. They were grinding all sorts. They were playing a third set every day against a challengers team, whoever would play them, basically. And as a result of that, I mean, they beat Falcons, congratulations, right? On the I think they lost the control in this series, didn't they, if I remember correctly? But then they started out the new year in January, and everything started to be a little bit more back on track. Yeah, it was a Vault control. They lost in this series. They still won it, of course, but even then it was like, damn, a FaZe, you know, that was the old Falcons team, obviously, that started out the season. So then they turn up to the minor, they won it. They turned up to the major, they won it. And really, it was all catalyzed, if you guys remember, by this 1 versus 4 that Simp had against Miami. They lost game 1. It looked like they might have lost game 2, but Simp clutches this remarkable 1 versus 4. I mean, look, Miami trolled bad, right? This is with their old roster when Lucky was still on the team, and Simp somehow gets the final kill onto Missiles and gets the defuse. That was a defining moment in their season, and after that point, it was like, okay, FaZe are back, this is how it should be, and no real surprise, they started to run other teams, going through the minor, going through the major, going through Major 2 qualifiers as well, and then, okay, they lost at the minor 2 tournament, but they won the major anyway, they 4-0'd Surge in the grand finals, so you know, it looked like they were on the right trajectory. Then things started to falling apart, certainly at the majors, and even though their results were still fine, it didn't go to plan in the big matches, and the end of the season, as we have seen before, you know, they just lost a ton of matches in pretty bad ways, and losing to Omit really was the final straw, I would say. So this is what the OpTic guys have to say. Shotzzy, of course, is pretty happy about no longer having to play against these guys. On some level, he knows what they're still capable of, and splitting up the talents is certainly not a bad thing for OpTic on paper, right? Now, look, Thieves are still going to be, I would say, very scary indeed, but maybe he feels like the FaZe team, for good reason, is potentially not going to be as competitive as it has otherwise been the last couple of years. And FormaL was, you know, found this pretty remarkable, because the last time he played COD was in Cold War, when the trio were absolutely dominant. Like, totally disgusting, and they gave FormaL hell that year, basically, and in some respects contributed substantially to his retirement from competitive Call of Duty. Then he moved to Halo, the rest is history. But he says, based on his history playing for teams in this type of circumstance, that he would be very surprised if there wasn't some sort of internal turmoil that led to this situation.
っていうのが、P4 の正面のドアの方に行ける。
It's important that the first guy of spawn is always the one taking like the longest route. That's usually how you would see teams play.
もう長く生き残ること、一番最初に言った方が長くもう生き残ってプレッシャーをかけることっていうのがすごく大事になる。これを外すにはって話ですね。
あれか、入り込んだ人って戻すよね。
Because think about it, timings wise, it'll always line up with the first guy when, okay, let's say 2 seconds left, or two seconds later, one guy spawns up. It'll always line up timings wise. It's most efficient that this guy takes the longest one, so that when this guy spawns up, he'll already be timings wise in a position to work off of this.
Bro, we are not going to ask the Japanese COD players their thoughts on 04's cake.
The FaZe, I mean, honestly, this is more for Matt, I guess, but did you see it coming? The FaZe
Cellium thing?
Well, like all of them kind of just disbanding, I guess. Cell, aBeZy.
Not really. I mean, like, kind of thought they would just stick it out and replace the 4th, but I mean, I don't know, because I don't know their problems. Like, they just had, I mean, they had like a really good start to the year, won 2 events, like, end the year with what? They got like top 6 twice at the 2 big ones. Like, dude, fuck. They lost to an AM team at fucking EWC. Like, I mean, they gotta hate each other, like, at that point, right? Like, they definitely, a couple of them hate a couple of them, you know what I mean? Like, there's definitely problems there that people probably won't ever hear about, but I mean, I don't know their situation, but I didn't think they were all just gonna, like, kind of split up, though.
Same, not gonna lie.
I never thought Simp and aBeZy would stop playing with each other, I'm not gonna lie.
Nah, yeah, I feel like I actually wonder how much like because bro, for the longest time, like the community would always tell these guys to like break up, but I swear like they're doing it in a way to where like for like the wrong reasons.
It's probably gonna be so weird for them playing without like the.
Yeah, no, at first it's definitely gonna be weird for sure. But I swear, like
teaming for so long.
Because even last year they're saying to like break up and shit. But I mean, honestly, it's mainly just the champs placements. I think that's the biggest thing that like for them as individuals, like they're like down to do it because. Ever since Cold War, like, I don't even know, like, what they have placed. Well, I think it was, like, 2nd in Vanguard. A lot of seconds, I guess. Seconds and thirds. I don't know. But hey, I don't have to play against these guys anymore, so fuck it. We'll take it. I actually did think they were going to win more with Zach, though. I mean, they kind of did. They won, what, 2 events this year?
They won 3 in a row right there. They go down a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
It's from the EWC to this year.
Damn, like, what the fuck?
That's what I'm saying, bro.
What the fuck happened between Major 2 and Major 3?
So what do you think about FormaL's suggestion that these guys must hate each other in some capacity and something went drastically wrong behind the scenes? Look, FormaL's been there and done it on many teams throughout the years. He knows how these teams operate, and he knows full well that when the team isn't winning, things start to get, you know, pretty problematic. And we've seen it so many times in the past of various teams, and in plenty of esports as well, where there's certain teams that are effectively being propped up by winning, and then when they're not winning, things start to come to the fore. It's the same way with OpTic, right? Even back in the day when the Dynasty, you know, people wonder whether the Dynasty was always going to play together. Eventually it collapsed, and relatively quickly at that, there started to be frustrations internally at the team with the way that they wanted to approach things, and all of a sudden, you know, scapegoats are being made. Karma was kicked out, FormaL left, he went to Luminosity, and FormaL's been there and done it on plenty of teams to know that this can be the case, where when you've had a good team that's had success and been together a long time, but inevitably cracks can start to form, they can get papered over when you win, and then when you no longer win, then things all start to come to the fore. So, look, I wouldn't be surprised, and to my understanding, there's probably, like, some truth to what FormaL's saying. I don't believe that they, like, hate each other. I doubt that that could ever truly be possible unless, you know, there was some girlfriend beef or whatever, right, with Scrappy and Drazah. Like, it's difficult to imagine that, let's say Simp and aBeZy, I don't expect the drama, if there is any drama, or let's say rivalry with Cellium to be that intense, but I think that the Simp and aBeZy one is the interesting drama that I think people will be keeping an eye on, and I don't expect it to be crazy or anything, but I think, to my understanding, it is going to be a pretty nice rivalry between Simp and aBeZy. I'd be surprised if it wasn't, right? I mean, they've teamed together for so long, had so much success together, but now things haven't gone to plan. FormaL is like, look, probably things in that relationship were strained, right? And I wouldn't be surprised if that's true to at least some degree. Now, look, are they going to hate each other? Like, just absolutely want to? I doubt that's the case. But will they want to beat each other the new season? I think absolutely, right? I think that's going to be contributed to by what's happened with FaZe, but also very much so by just the circumstances around them playing together for a very long time. aBeZy probably feeling that, you know, I don't know, maybe aBeZy doesn't feel this way, but as a competitor you probably would, that maybe he deserves a bit more credit when compared to Simp in the all-time discussions, because they've basically been there and done the same thing for all of those years. And maybe Simp feels like, well, no, I'm him. Like, I'm that guy. He even said it, right? He was like, look, FaZe fans, don't worry about us. Yeah, we're losing aBeZy, but I'm him, right? So that's the conversation that'll be had. I think FormaL always is going to have good insight, really, into what those type of team dynamics look like when teams, you know, struggle and break apart, and maybe we'll get the full story about it at some point in the future, but very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments. I thought this was just pretty funny. So Burrito's back at it again. He was in the drama, like the analyst-related drama a couple of weeks back, and he's been watching some VOD, you know how it is, and he was watching some 04 VOD, and he was just giving his opinion, really. I just thought it was kind of interesting and pretty funny. He did this nice little take here discussing how aBeZy leaving FaZe, 04 coming in, is it going to make much difference? And, well, he's not so convinced. Speaking of aBeZy, thought this is a pretty cool stat. Only 2 players in the history of COD have led 5 different seasons in total finals appearances. So an interesting stat, but it is nonetheless a pretty cool one. So in terms of finals appearances, not event victories precisely, but over plenty of different games, who at least was tied or leading in that regard. Now, Simp doesn't have it. Yes, you might say, well, Simp was the same in MW19, Cold War, Vanguard, Modern Warfare 3. True, but aBeZy played right at the start of Black Ops 4 when they made the grand finals of CWL Las Vegas back in 2018 December, where they made the finals and lost to OpTic with Dashy, his first event with the team famously. Simp wasn't in the team at that point, he weren't 18 yet. When he turned 18, they brought him in. So, yeah, that's why aBeZy leads Black Ops 4, because he made that additional finals over Simp. And then Kremp at least had joined the most in BO2, Ghost, Advanced Warfare, BO3, and Infinite Warfare. So these are, you know, 2 pretty big names of competitive cards. If I'm aBeZy, I'm looking at people say, you know, people talk a lot about the all-time rankings, right, where the players stand. Kremp, most people have number 1, and for good reason. People debate on where you put Simp in that conversation. There was a time where people were putting Simp up in even maybe the top 5. you know, I was never quite convinced he was on that level, but, you know, I was putting him maybe more like 7th or 8th or something like that, and I think that's probably still fair. I think the question is now, has Shotzzy overtaken Simp and aBeZy? I think you kind of have to argue it with the 3 rings, right? But in all those discussions, people were putting Simp ahead of aBeZy. You know, some people were throwing Simp in the top 5, and maybe aBeZy is maybe top 10 or whatever. So I'm sure that he has some opinions on that, and maybe we'll see that in due course. But very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.